Okay. Show me.
Hi there guys, welcome back to the Dutch ST channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. And what you see in front of you is the Geelang Anger 85X 4K micro drone. Quite a long name. Yeah, in this video I'm gonna review this quadcopter, and right out of the gate I'm gonna recommend this quadcopter. Yeah, that's something I don't often do, but I've been pleasantly surprised by this quadcopter. I have approximately 20 flights on it right now. And so this is a, what is this, a short-term review? Well, 20 flights, a review. And again, I'm gonna recommend it, and obviously in this video I'm gonna tell you why I recommend it. You might have noticed that my quadcopter is a little bit, well, not damaged. Two of the propellers are damaged. One propeller is missing a blade and one propeller is a bit scuffed up. Or actually it's missing the tip of a blade. So after approximately 20 flights, and a lot of crashing, I've been testing the quadcopter, right, as you would. The quadcopter itself is just fine, only two damaged propellers. And regrettably, mine doesn't come with spare propellers. Yeah, but it should have. So in this video I'm gonna obviously show you what you get for your money. We're gonna do some flying. I've recorded 2 flights, and in those flights I'll tell you what I think of the performance, obviously. And yeah, at the end I'll give you my closing thoughts. In another video I might do a long-term review after, say, 50 flights or so, but this is definitely a review. 20 flights is more than enough to have a good understanding of its performance, right? So let's get into it. What do you get for your money with this Anger 85X 4K from Geelang? So when you order this Geelang, the Anger 85X 4K, you receive it in this EVA bag, semi-hard case protective bag for transport and well, protection in shipping, obviously. But not only that, you also get a secondary frame. You might have seen the product page of this quadcopter and seen this here picture, and you might have wondered, as I did, do you actually get all that? You do. And like I said, I didn't get the spare propellers, but you should definitely get the spare propellers as well. I probably got one from the first batch and something went wrong. I didn't get the spare propellers. And yeah, so, but you should definitely get spare propellers with this quadcopter. But again, spare frame, a completely spare frame. Very, very nice. And if you open up this, nicely Geelang branded, very, very nice. For storage, here you see the canopy that, well, apparently didn't fit in this extra box. So a complete extra frame, and well, the quadcopter itself fits in this EVA bag, all assembled, as you can tell. Even the FV antenna fits on there, and you get some extra stuff as well. Let's get everything out and see what we got. So you obviously get the quadcopter, more on that in a second. You get that spare frame, complete spare frame. It also provides us with a unique opportunity to actually see the frame of the quadcopter, and it's completely plastic. You might have wondered from the product page. Yes, this frame is completely plastic, and there is quite a lot of flex in this frame, as you can probably tell. More on that in a couple of minutes when I tell you what I thought the performance would be like before I flew it. You might be able to imagine that this concerned me. More on that in a couple of minutes, and the canopy, obviously. We get ourselves we don't get a manual. We get a QR code for a manual, okay? We do get a manual for the included receiver. Now you can get this quadcopter with a couple of different receivers, even crossfire. I got mine with the XM Plus receiver, FrSky XM Plus receiver. You get a USB cable, and it's an especially long USB cable, not even needed. Also more on that, but this does make it a little bit more convenient to reach the USB port in your quadcopter for Betaflight configuration, right? So that's why it's a little longer, but again, not really needed. Surprisingly not really needed. You get a cleaning cloth for this, this sunshade over here. Very, very nice. And you get these rubber strips. Now what are these for? These prop guards are completely plastic and you can add this rubber as a bumper to this quadcopter. If you fly this quadcopter indoors, you might bump into your TV set, right? This rubber will prevent scratches on your TV or other things in your house. Very, very nice. I have actually tested if flying this quadcopter into myself hurts at all. It does not. But these bumpers will definitely prevent you from scratching up things. And you get a screwdriver, Phillips head screwdriver for maintenance on your quadcopter and an Allen key as well. Now there are also a couple of things that aren't really needed. I think these came with the Caddx Loris camera. And they weren't used in this quadcopter. You got an adapter to make the camera, the Loris camera, into a micro-sized camera. You got this adapter plate to mount the recorder board in different size quadcopters. And so those aren't used, but they came with the camera, so they included it with the quadcopter. And you got this controller to change settings on the camera. So that is needed. That's very handy to have. And you get a second rubber band to mount your battery. Oh, and also the spare frame came with spare rubber bumpers as well. So that's all of everything you get. So guys, the Geelang Anger 85X4K. This is actually my first Geelang quadcopter. They've had a couple of other quadcopters, as you might know. And for, well, several reasons, they didn't float my boat. However, this one, an 85mm motor-to-motor wheelbase quadcopter and prop guards, that should make it an indoors quadcopter, right? However, it flies on 4S, so that should, in theory, make it an outdoors flyable quadcopter as well. And in the Netherlands, that's quite a big ask because it's often windy here. Having flown it outdoors in windy conditions, as you'll see in a couple of minutes, it is flyable outdoors in windy conditions. So pretty nice, but well, when I ordered it, I didn't know that, obviously. I was interested to see if this could, do well in windy conditions. Not only that, this small little quadcopter has the Caddx Loris camera, which I hadn't tried yet. So it is a split camera, right? It has a one lens and one sensor, but that provides the FPV experience as the recording camera, if you will. I was interested to see how well that performs, and I should also say that since I ordered it, I saw a couple of reviews of that camera and that didn't look all that well. So in a couple of minutes I'll tell you my expectations of this quadcopter, and well, those reviews of this camera system definitely factored in my expectations of this quadcopter, which weren't all that favorable. Now, before we go and fly this quadcopter, a couple of important things about this quadcopter you might be wondering about. I mentioned it already, the USB connector. On these small little quadcopters, oftentimes the USB connector is hard to access. However, you can see it over there. And well, I used a normal run-of-the-mill USB cable for this quadcopter to set it up, to change some the flight modes. I changed the flight modes and nothing else so far. But this USB connector is easily reachable, no problem at all. And very hard to see for you probably, but the memory card slot is just above that. So for the 4K Loris recorder, you can also easily access that memory card slot. Yeah. So that's definitely two things I wondered about. Is that memory card slot actually accessible? And the third thing, mine came with a receiver, right? And it's built in. So can you actually access the binding button on your receiver? And it's right here. Hopefully you'll be able to see it. But you can, very, very easily. You don't have to take the quadcopter apart at all. At least not for the XM Plus receiver. I don't have the other receivers versions, obviously, but this goes to show that they actually thought about it. And also you can see the rubber band over here. Very, very convenient. I love this method of mounting the batteries. So what more can it? Yeah, XT30, and it actually has a capacitor. Will you be able to see that there? Capacitor. And it has an anti-slip mat. Yay, very, very nice. So that is what you get for your money. Now let's do some flying. That's what you clicked on the video for. What is the flight experience like with this quadcopter, and what are the recordings and DVR footage like? Now the flights I'm gonna show you are actually my first 2 flights. And for that to work out, I should tell you what my expectations were with this quadcopter, or my worries, if you will. First thing, flexible frame, quite flexible, even though it's pretty light, of course. An 85mm quadcopter is never heavy, but still a flexible frame. Is that going to fly precise enough? Am I going to see weird vibrations, or can the flight controller actually cope with this flexing in the frame? That's one thing I was worried about. Then we've got this camera, this Caddx camera, and we've seen a lot of these kinds of cameras that had jello in the recording and the FPV view. So obviously the quadcopter has this sunshade to keep the shutter speed down. This is an ND filter basically, right? Sunshades. And we use ND filters to prevent jello. So I do think that they actually try to prevent it, but does this work? Will we see jello? Also, I had seen a review of the Caddx Loris system by Nick Burns, and that didn't look good at all. Right. So I was very skeptical, worried about the FPV experience of that Caddx Loris. So that were my expectations. Let's go and fly. Here we go. So I'm out here at a soccer club, or the soccer club if you know my channel, and I'm obviously flying this quadcopter, the Geelang Anger, at this site because I know this site, right? I have no idea how well it will fly and what the camera's performance is like. We will just see, right? It is reasonably windy. I hope you'll be able to hear me, and I do expect this quadcopter to be able to handle some wind. Let's get cracking. And we are up and away, and obviously I need to get used to the throttle feel a little bit, and well, it flies. That's the first thing I noticed. The second thing is that the FPV view is not as bad as I had anticipated. I had seen FPV footage from this camera setup, this split camera from Caddx, in other people's video, and in those videos it was kind of like horrible. It's not good. I definitely have better FPV cameras, but it's not, again, it's not as bad as I had anticipated. So, I am having to fight the wind quite a bit here. So can I fly around this fence here? This is always an awkward spot. Yeah. Okay. Again, I definitely have better FPV cameras, but okay, I'm pleasantly surprised by the FPV experienced, and my expectations again were very, very low. It's not that bad. It is a sunny day, that helps obviously, but in Nick Burns, for instance, video, he was flying it on a sunny day as well. And maybe he had a pre-production sample, because this is definitely, again, better than I was expecting.
2 minutes.
I can't see where I am going. And the main part, or the main thing about a quadcopter like this, is the ability to shoot nice recordings, right? Obviously you also want to be able to see where you're going, but the main attraction here is that it's a small quadcopter whilst being able to shoot 4K videos, even though it's upscaled. I think it's 2.7K. And as I mentioned in my unboxing part of this video, the default setup of this split camera from Cadex is in fact 2.7K 60 frames a second. And yeah, I am flying it slowish, I am feeding it out, right? But let's try some aerobatics. Flip. Not bad. I haven't changed anything about the setup of this quadcopter. And for a completely plastic framed quadcopter in this size, not bad at all actually. I can see some wobbling, but again it's also windy. This is better. The FPV experience is better. The flight performance is also better. Low battery. Yeah, if I move the throttle to approximately 75%, then it gets a little power hungry, I guess. I can't see my voltage. The camera's timer is over. Oh, my voltage is off screen. I need to change my OSD. And as you can probably see, the quad does not have an amp meter. Low battery. Okay. And I can't see my flight time either. Recording time is 5 minutes, so my air time is probably 4 minutes, which is fine. Okay, not bad at all. Okay, so this fills me with confidence. We'll pick a harder spot to fly the quad at. Let's do that right now for my second flight. So, second flight for the Geelang Anger 4K camera quadcopter. And at a spot you have never seen before, especially this part over here. Now I've chosen this spot. I had actually intended to fly the quadcopter first here to see if I could make out those pillars. See, before I flew this quadcopter I thought that the FPV experience would be horrible. It's not horrible. It's not super duper good, but it's not horrible. So even still, I want to see if how the camera performs over here in a more urban environment. I want to see what the camera does with these glass fascias and the pillars, if you can see them well in the recording, in the 2.7K recording. And if I can easily pick out those pillars while flying to not run into them. Yeah, let's get cracking. Alright, we are again up and away. Let me get my bearings a little. And I must say that the thing I need to get used to most is the viewing angle. And it goes for any quadcopter you fly for the first time. How far away from things are you? How high up and such? How fast are you traveling? And we'll get to the how fast part in a minute when I take you through my final notes. And it's also again very windy. I had expected to be out of the wind over here behind the building, but I'm definitely not. Yeah. The quadcopter is definitely being thrown around by the wind, but I have no trouble at all seeing those pillars. Again, the biggest, well, problem, it's not a problem. The thing I have to get used to most is the viewing angle. Is the viewing angle particularly shallow? No, it's pretty wide actually. Yeah, I'm closer to things than I think I am. And the altitude is pretty easy to gauge and set. Most of these smaller quadcopters, you have no feel in the throttle below 50%. And it's not as good as, say, a 5-inch quadcopter, but 4S does have its advantages, I guess, for a quadcopter like this.
2 minutes.
Yeah, pretty nice. The colors look pretty good. What is my range like? Seems just fine. RSSI looks good as well. Again, I got me this quadcopter with the receiver, an XM Plus. Works just fine. Yeah, this is again quite a bit better than I had expected. I had expected this to be more hard to do with this FPV camera. It is definitely also not super duper great, but definitely flyable. And you tell me in the comment section below what you think of the onboard recording, the 2.7K recording. This is actually pretty enjoyable to fly like this. Still not really used to the quadcopter obviously, but yeah, relaxing actually. And it wouldn't be relaxing if I wouldn't be able to see where the hell I'm going, right? I guess that makes sense. Low battery. How long have I been flying for? Pretty long, I think. Four minutes or yeah, probably 4 minutes. Not bad. Yeah, low battery. Okay. So after the first 2 flights, pretty positive. Not bad at all. And with that said, let's get back to the studio and then I'll give you my closing thoughts, well, preliminary short time review, I guess. Yeah, let's get back to the studio and give you my closing thoughts on this Geelang Anger 4K. So guys, the Geelang Anger 85X 4K. Who knew? Much better than I had anticipated. Flexible frame, flies fine. And onboard recordings, well, you tell me in the comment section below what you thought. But it, to me, looks pretty much usable. It's not a GoPro, obviously, but very much useful for YouTube clips, I'd say. And then the FPV camera itself, or the FPV experience, if you will. Yeah, again, I have better FPV cameras, but this is a nano size split camera. What were we expecting, right? It has a tiny lens, and especially that, you can't capture a whole lot of light with a small lens. With that said, it's perfectly flyable and better than I had anticipated. So that's nice, and yeah, a small little package. So it's also an indoors flyer. With that, it has programmable LEDs at the rear. And let me see, yeah, I flew this quadcopter on these Lipos 450 milliamp hour 4S, these and some Gensace Lipos, and to be honest I couldn't tell the difference between these two. Maybe there's a little edge to these GNBs. The flight time seemed to be a little longer with them, but well, it's hard to tell. And yeah, both of these Lipos performed well on this quadcopter, so 450 milliamp hour 4S seems to work out. And also I don't have Lipos like a 554S for this quadcopter, but it seems like that would be too big of a Lipo, and with these you get flight times of 3 to 4 minutes, so that's pretty nice. Let's actually see what the all-up weight with these is. So here we go. The quad itself 79 grams, and with a Lipo 131 grams. That's pretty light for a quadcopter that can actually record action cam quality videos. Pretty nice. And after the first 2 flights I just shown you, I've done approximately 18 more flights. I've done some deliberate crashing into concrete, trees, and falling down from a couple meters up. 2 broken propellers, or 2 propellers I need to replace, and the frame itself. Yeah, I was actually a bit worried about the frame, since they ship it with an extra frame, a spare frame. That makes you wonder how resilient the frame actually is. I won't tell you that this frame can't be broken, obviously, but so far so good. I have quite a lot of crashes with it, and fine. No problem at all. 2 broken propellers and that's it. So that's it. That's my review of this Geelang 85X 4K. I've had a lot of fun with this quadcopter, so therefore recommend it. The onboard recordings are very much useful. You tell me in the comment section below, of course. I'll be doing more flights with it, and after a couple of weeks I'll probably come back to you with a long-term review of this Geelang. For now, I want to thank you for watching. Catch you on the next video. Bye bye.